Buenos dias. Good morning. Good morning. Bienvenidos, Alejandro. Welcome, Señor Niño. Okay, that's all the people I know here. No, I'm just kidding. We are sold out. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you so much. I am so proud to be here with each of you. On behalf of our board of directors, our chairwoman, Jackie Puente, our members, our more than 300 chambers, hundreds, if not 5 million Hispanic-owned businesses, and hundreds of corporations that are investing in our future economy. We welcome you to our 2025 policy agenda, charting the course forward. We meet every March or April in Washington, D.C. This is the nation's capital, but it's also the center of the free world. Anything that happens in Washington, the world is watching. And I want to let you know that your chamber, for more than 50 years, has been a pro-business, driven by free enterprise, bipartisan organization. You will always have a seat at any table that your members need, because this chamber is here to represent you and each one of you and do it in a manner that fuels the economy, that listens to you and knows that whether you're red or blue, we will always be red, white, and blue at the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm further proud to say that your chamber is very strong. As we finish the first quarter, like you, we are in awe and in shock at all of the changes that we're experiencing, but we're digging in. We're used to adversity, and we are paying attention to what's happening here, and everybody needs to calm down. We're going to be okay. We're going to do this together. We're going to find our way forward. Democracy is a system that involves bargaining with someone that you probably disagree with. But we need to talk to one another, and we need to find solutions. And the future of this economy is going to be driven by those 65 million Americans who self-identify as Hispanic. The community that was here 128 years before the British arrived at Plymouth Rock. The first European language spoken in North America was Spanish. And you all represent that legacy, whether we got here last night or like Ruben Barrales 400 years ago. So I'm so proud of each of you for being here. I don't have like a manifesto or a kind of a vision for the future. Like each of you, we are paying attention, but we're here to work together. And I want to encourage you to listen to one another, to support one another, and to find those solutions together. We're going to get through this. We have a new administration, and change is happening. And we wanted change. And I just want to share with you that we elected this administration, and we need to work with people who are in office. And our chamber, your chamber, works with anybody that's sitting in that White House, because it's your house. And you're going to have access. So give yourself a round of applause for coming here today. So we're here to represent you in a bipartisan fashion. We represent an economy that is growing, and it is the 5th largest economy in the world at $3.7 trillion. Small businesses provide 80% of the jobs in this country. And this is the largest economy in the world. 25% of the global economy is driven by each of you and others. And so for 50 years, we've worked with every administration in the White House. And we commit to you on behalf of our board of directors and our great leader, Jackie Puente, who you'll get to meet later on if you haven't met her already. She is a ball of fire. She is super intelligent, and she knows Washington better than anybody I know. But you're going to have access. Your voice is going to be heard. And we're going to develop a shared strategy to be successful and represent our members, all of our members, HBEs, chambers, and corporates. Why are we here? We're here because we're going to drive that change together with you. We're going to build connections that are strategic. You're going to have inside access to any place you want to be. That's our commitment to you, including the White House. We're going to amplify your voice because together we're stronger. We need to be united. And I love to tell people who said, well, Ramiro, I'm not Hispanic. And I said, because I heard this before, so, I just steal things here and there. Being Hispanic is a state of mind. We're not a race. We're a culture. We're an ethnic group. And we are a very young, educated, dynamic, entrepreneurial. We over-index in job creation compared to any other group. And we do it in a dignified way, and we do it sometimes without the 3 C's that we call: access to capital, access to connections, and access to capacity building. And our programs at the Chamber are built to accelerate and expand your business and work with our chambers. Each of them is an independent chamber. We don't tell them what to do, and they don't tell us what to do, but we work together. And that's the way it should be done, because that independence is very entrepreneurial, and it's the spirit of America. So without further ado, I want to thank those American corporations and organizations that are our sponsors today. How's that for transition? Did you like that? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I've been doing this for a while. We want to thank our corporate chair, Amazon. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. Want to thank our gold sponsors, DoorDash, Edison Electric Institute, Google, T-Mobile, and Verizon. Let's give them a round of applause. And Telemundo. And I want to thank Advanced Energy United, Charter Communications. These are silver sponsors. Colonial Press, Exelon, Visa, and Wells Fargo. Let's give them a round of applause. So as I conclude, I want to thank our vendors. I want to thank the great team at the U.S. Hispanic Chamber. We're a small team of 14 folks based in Washington, D.C., and we have folks scattered throughout the country. But join me in thanking the people serving our food this morning, the people that work at this hotel, our vendors, and our great team, a professional team at the Chamber. I don't call them staff. We call them a team because they are a professional team. Let's give them a round of applause. So before I introduce our first great speaker, Dr. Kugler, I want to let you know we know who we are, and we know our value, and we're going to continue to represent you. We know that our members and small businesses depend on us keeping those doors open of opportunity. We do believe that the programs that are within the Small Business Administration and the Minority Business Development Agency and CDFIs must continue, but we will work with change and find a path forward, but we will embrace, a changing bureaucracy that is going to be more efficient and protects our members and promotes fewer taxes for our members and less regulation to allow businesses to move forward. So that's our commitment to you. Not everything will go to plan accordingly, but we must adapt, and I would encourage each of us to not waste our time trying to worry about things that we can't control. Let's focus on supporting one another, teaching one another, and embracing change and adapting, but also being at the table, not being outside of the White House, but being inside the White House, creating change. I was talking to a senator last week who said, we're going to find our way forward. It's kind of shock and awe, Ramiro, even for us. But, executive orders last 4 years at most. Some of them are stuck in the courts. The ones that stick are probably needed, and we're going to find, those changes moving forward. But this is a great democracy. I'm so proud to be an American. I'm so proud to be with you. I'm proud to welcome you to Washington. And thank you to our sponsors and our board of directors for their leadership. Let's give them a round of applause. So Our first speaker is a history-making person. We have a lot of history-making people here, including Jovita Carranza, who's our past treasurer and SBA administrator. Let's give her a round of applause. Jovita, gracias. Republican administration. And the person I'm introducing was obviously appointed by a Democratic administration. We love all history-making people. So I met Adriana Kugler, Dr. Kugler, back in 2011 when she was chief economist at the Department of Labor. We brought a big group from Texas, a scary group, I might add, but a group that was here to learn. And we met a wonderful leader who had a great message about the economy and the importance. She was the chief economist of the Department of Labor. She's also been a research associate at the National Bureau of Economic Research. Dr. Kugler is a native of Colombia. She received her BA in economics and political science from McGill University, and she has a PhD in economics from the University of California at Berkeley. Let's give it up for California. Let's give it up. She's become a dear friend. She's brilliant. And she served as a U.S. Executive Director at the World Bank. Most recently, she's on leave from Georgetown University, where she's a professor of public policy and economics and was vice provost of faculty. So excited that she is a member of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, and she was appointed September 2023. And I'm further proud to say that in 108 years, there had not been a Latino or Latina on the Board of Governors. And I'm so proud that she is the first one representing us to oversee interest rates, monetary supply, research. And it is my honor, distinct honor, to introduce a dear friend and a brilliant leader for our country, the amazing Dr. Adriana Kugler.
Well, thank you, Ramiro, for that generous introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. Welcome to Washington, D.C. Bienvenidos a la capital. I hope you have a productive conference and an enjoyable visit, and I hope you even get a chance and the opportunity to see our beautiful cherry blossoms during your visit. I am honored to speak with you today because I have long appreciated the efforts of the U.S. Hispanic Chamber in supporting Hispanic-owned businesses, especially small businesses and entrepreneurs. It is also gratifying, as Ramiro said, to speak to you today as the first Latin policymaker in the Federal Reserve's history. Thank you. Thank you. The support and mentorship from my family and my communities, including many in the Hispanic community, have been foundational in my career. I am proud that I can bring my own perspective and my own background to how I view the economy and economic data. Just as I value learning and hearing from others, because believe me, I know that my decisions can make a difference in the life of all Americans. As a Fed governor, I serve all Americans, and I strive to recognize the economic contributions that come from all corners of our country. Today, I will talk about the entrepreneurial spirit that many Latinos embody, and I share with you as well the importance of Latinos to the whole of the U.S. economy. I will then provide my outlook for the U.S. economy. Let me start by saying that I have a strong affinity for entrepreneurs, and I recognize that they're a driving force behind economic growth and job creation, which I know from the data because I've spent most of my career as a labor economist and as a researcher as well. But I truly understand the crucial role they play in the economy because my own grandparents and my father were entrepreneurs themselves. My maternal grandfather was a dairy farmer in Colombia, and I still recall the effort and the dedication I saw as a child while joining him as he went from store to store, selling the milk early in the morning before starting his other job, which was as a mayor of his own town. And my paternal grandfathers and grandparents owned an electronics shop where they worked shoulder to shoulder. My grandpa ran the front end of the shop, and my grandma was in charge of the accounting and the inventory. The lessons on the value of hard work and taking initiative have really stayed with me throughout my career in academia and continue until now in my work also as a policymaker. I have always brought an entrepreneurial spirit to everything I do, seeking to be proactive about identifying opportunities and pursuing new or better solutions to long-standing challenges. And that is exactly what millions of Latino entrepreneurs do across the US every single day. There are roughly 5 million Latino-owned businesses that provide jobs to millions of other workers across the country. And the number of Latino entrepreneurs is growing fast. Between 2007 and 2022, there was a 57% increase in the number of Latin-owned businesses, and the number of employees under collective payrolls grew by 1.2 million. As I have emphasized in my past speeches, the growth in new business formation has been critical in sustaining the productivity growth that we have experienced in recent years, which has allowed us to achieve economic expansions while reducing inflation. I see this growth as I travel around the country and I meet with workers and business leaders. For example, I noted in a recent speech in Miami that South Florida is an area with a large, vibrant Latino community, and it is also one of the top regions for new business formation. Other data are also consistent with an elevated level of entrepreneurship in our community. Latino adults who did not previously own a business created new companies at nearly twice the national rate in 2023. And while the overall new entrepreneurship rate edged lower after a pandemic-era jump, the rate for Latino entrepreneurs continued to rise to a new record high in 2023. This growth matters to the US economy. Entrepreneurs improve ways of doing business and generate new jobs and also wealth. They often create new processes, new products, new markets, and services that solve problems and improve the quality of life for all of us. Entrepreneurs also bring fresh perspectives and contribute to economic progress. So, for example, a recent survey by the Stanford Latino Entrepreneurship Initiative shows that Latino-owned businesses outperform all others in the adoption of artificial intelligence. Beyond starting businesses and creating jobs, Latinos are a large and growing part of the economy as consumers, as workers, and also as investors. Collectively, Latino households generate trillions of dollars in economic activity each year in the US. There are 34 million Latino workers in the US labor force, and the median weekly earnings of Latinos working full-time has doubled in the past 20 years. Those data points suggest that many Latino workers are moving into higher-paying, higher productivity jobs. Overall, nearly 1 in every 5 Americans are of Latino heritage. In some states, such as Texas, a state that I actually know quite well, shows that there are actually 2 in 5 Latinos in the population. And given that the Latino population is growing, it is not surprising that Texas also led the country in job creation last year, adding 284,000 jobs to payrolls. Across the US, The Latino labor force has grown 14% since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, much faster than the 4% growth for the total population. Latinos tend to work or seek employment at higher rates. The Latino labor force participation rate was close to 67% in February versus close to 62.5% for the population overall. In addition to filling jobs for employers and meeting consumer demand for goods and services, this labor force growth has been incredibly helpful to counter the inflation that we saw a few years ago when the labor market was historically tight. The growth in the Latino workforce contributed to rebalancing the US labor market in recent years. The labor market has cooled from a very overheated state to a stable position characterized by low unemployment and diminished wage pressures. Latino workers especially aided that rebalancing by taking positions that had been difficult for many employers to fill. For example, early in the pandemic, many Americans remodeled or expanded their homes, including me. We were all suddenly spending a lot of time at home. And anyone in this room that undertook such a project in 21 and 22 probably remembers how difficult it was to hire carpenters and plumbers and all sorts of other workers. As of February, Latinos accounted for 35% of all construction workers, up from 30% 5 years ago. Similarly, Latino workers have outsized representation in several other fields in which hiring has been challenging in recent years. Over 1/3 of warehouse and storage workers and 1/4 of couriers, both important to the e-commerce industry, and we have Amazon here, are Latino. Latinos also represent a large share of critical childcare, automotive repairs, and building maintenance positions, the people that really make it possible for all of us to get to work and do our jobs well. Moving forward, the young Latino population will continue to contribute to the labor force, as 1 million Latinos every year will turn 18 over the next 2 decades. And the growth in educational attainment of Latinos is 3 times faster than that for other groups. Already 1/4 of the nation's K-12 students are Latino and are thus on track to soon substantially contribute to the skilled labor force. Of course, I'm always studying how the economy is playing out for all Americans of all backgrounds. And as such, I would like to share with you my economic outlook before I conclude. The US economy has been on solid footing in recent years. Consistent with that assessment, real gross domestic product grew at 2.5% last year. But the most recent data on economic activity in the early part of this year have shown some signs of softness. Retail sales plunged more than 1% in January. However, that slowing was not entirely unexpected after the strong showing in December, some bad weather at the beginning of the year, and the difficulties in seasonal adjustments of the data. Moreover, growth in retail sales actually moved back up to positive territory, increasing 2.2% in February. The labor market appears to be stable through February. US employers added 151,000 jobs in February and 125,000 in January. The pace of hiring during the first 2 months of the year is a slowdown compared to the strong gains that we saw in November and December. But again, that could reflect some weather disruptions and also seasonal adjustments in the data. Over the past 6 months, employers added a solid average of 190,000 jobs a month. The unemployment rate was 4.1% last month, which is still low by historical standards and has remained near its current level since last summer. Turning to inflation, I have been keenly aware that price increases have been painful for American families, and I have supported policies intended to bring inflation sustainably back to our 2% target. This effort has paid dividends. Inflation has come down a long way from its peak at more than 7% in June of 2022. Based on the Consumer Price Index and the Producer Price Index, in February, it is estimated that the 12-month change for the Personal Consumption Expenditures, or PCE price index, was 2.5% last month. That is indeed welcome progress, but that progress has slowed since last summer. In certain subcategories, there is evidence that inflation reaccelerated in recent months. Importantly, while goods inflation was actually negative in 2024, as was the norm before the pandemic, it has now turned positive in recent months. This development is unhelpful because goods inflation has often kept a lid on total inflation and also affects inflation expectations. In addition to the increase in prices already captured in official data, surveys show that consumers are expecting further increases in the near term. For instance, both short-run and long-run inflation expectations from the Michigan survey have climbed in recent months. According to comments from survey respondents, much of this uncertainty appears to be tied to trade policy. I am paying close attention to the reacceleration of price increases and higher inflation expectations, especially given the recent bout of inflation in the past few years. Given the economy's solid overall performance and the heightened level of uncertainty, I supported the Federal Open Market Committee's, or FOMC's, decision last week to maintain the policy rate at its current rate. I see current policy as continuing to be restrictive, and I judge that FOMC policy is well positioned. The committee can react to new developments by holding at the current rate for some time as we closely monitor incoming data and the cumulative effects of new policies. I remain committed to bringing inflation back to our 2% target while maintaining a solid labor market. And as always, I will carefully assess the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and our balance of risks when we consider the appropriate policy rate. So thank you very much again for having me here today.
Thank you, Dr. Kugler, for your insightful keynote remarks.